Brad Sullivan adjusts his SkyBridge Airlines tie with practiced authority as he surveys the boarding passengers on Flight 847, 18. Years of flying the Chicago-Atlanta route taught him to spot trouble before it starts. His pale blue eyes narrow as Victoria Chen approaches row 3A with her carry-on bag, designer blazer and confident stride that immediately irritates him. "Mom, that bag's too large for overhead storage," Sullivan announces loudly enough for nearby passengers to hear, though identical bags fill the bins above. His voice carries the condescending tone reserved for passengers he deems unworthy of first-class accommodations. Victoria pauses, confusion flickering across her professional demeanor. "Excuse me? This bag has flown with me dozens of times. It's well within regulation size." Her measured response reveals years of corporate boardroom experience, but Sullivan interprets her educated speech as disrespect that requires immediate correction. Dr. Michael Thompson, settling into seat 2B, glances up from his medical journal with growing concern. Something about the flight attendant's aggressive posture suggests this interaction will escalate beyond normal passenger service. Emma Rodriguez discreetly activates her phone's camera from seat 4C, journalism instincts recognizing a story developing in real time. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. SkyBridge Airlines Flight 847 represents the pinnacle of commercial aviation luxury, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights of Chicago O'Hare's Terminal C, the aircraft's pristine white. Exterior bears the company's signature blue logo, a soaring eagle that symbolizes freedom and excellence in air travel. Inside, first-class passengers enjoy leather seats that recline into full beds, personal entertainment systems, and gourmet meal service that rivals fine dining restaurants. Victoria Chen selected seat 3A specifically for this flight's significance. Monday morning, she begins her tenure as SkyBridge Airlines' new chief executive officer, the youngest person and first Asian American woman to hold the position in the company's 47-year history. The board of directors recruited her after a nationwide search following scandals that damaged the airline's reputation and stock price. Her mandate is clear: transform company culture, restore customer confidence, and return SkyBridge to profitability. The irony cuts deep. Victoria chose to fly SkyBridge as a passenger before assuming leadership, wanting to experience the service that customers receive. Her transition plan includes traveling incognito to observe operations without the artificial politeness that CEO visits typically generate. She wants authentic insight into how employees treat passengers when they believe no consequences exist for poor behavior. Brad Sullivan embodies everything wrong with SkyBridge's corporate culture. His 18-year tenure coincided with the airline's gradual decline from industry leader to frequent target of customer service complaints. His union protection shields him from accountability, while his seniority grants him authority over junior staff who fear challenging his methods. His approach to passenger service reflects institutional problems that new leadership must address. Chicago O'Hare bustles with Tuesday afternoon energy as business travelers rush between gates. Families wrangle luggage and children, and airline crews navigate through crowds with practiced efficiency. Gate C14 processes SkyBridge Flight 847's boarding with mechanical precision that prioritizes schedule adherence over passenger experience. The gate area fills with travelers who paid premium prices for service that frequently disappoints. SkyBridge's recent troubles stem from systematic cultural problems that prioritize employee convenience over customer satisfaction. Social media complaints multiply daily as passengers document rude behavior, arbitrary rule enforcement, and discriminatory treatment that disproportionately affects minorities. The company's stock price reflects investor concerns about reputation damage that threatens long-term viability. Flight 847's passenger manifest reads like a cross-section of American business travel. Dr. Michael Thompson, a respected cardiologist, flies to Atlanta for a medical conference where he'll present research about cardiac surgery innovations. Emma Rodriguez, a Northwestern journalism student, travels home for her grandmother's birthday while working on her thesis about corporate accountability in customer service. Frank Patterson, a retired educator, uses his pension savings for bucket list travel that includes visiting his daughter in Atlanta. Lisa Chang, a business consultant, makes this route monthly for client meetings, her frequent flyer status earning upgrades that she's learned to appreciate. Each passenger paid significant money for service that should reflect the premium pricing. The aircraft's configuration includes 12 first-class seats, 36 business-class seats, and 148 economy seats. The first-class cabin, where Victoria sits, represents SkyBridge's attempt to compete with international carriers through luxury amenities and personalized service. The reality often falls short of marketing promises, particularly when crew members, like Sullivan, prioritize authority over hospitality. Sullivan's behavior patterns reflect broader industry problems where airline deregulation created cost pressures that often manifest as reduced service quality. His generation of flight attendants entered the profession when it carried prestige and respect. Economic changes transformed the job into customer service work that he performs with resentment rather than pride. The boarding process reveals SkyBridge's operational dysfunction. Passengers wait in lines that snake through the terminal, while gate agents struggle with computer systems that frequently malfunction. Overhead, bin space becomes contentious as travelers board with luggage that pushes size limits. The stress creates friction that professional crew members should diffuse rather than escalate. Victoria observes these dynamics with the analytical mind that built her reputation in airline management. Her background includes operational roles, where she learned how small problems cascade into major customer service failures. Her experience at Delta and United provided contrast with SkyBridge's approach to passenger relations and employee accountability. The stage is set for confrontation between old-school authoritarianism and modern customer service expectations. Sullivan's approach to passenger management reflects institutional problems that require systematic reform. Victoria's presence on this flight creates an opportunity for authentic assessment of employee behavior when they believe they're unobserved by management. The timing couldn't be more perfect for exposing problems that threaten SkyBridge's future viability. The company's board expects Victoria to identify and address cultural issues that damage reputation and profitability. Her first-hand experience as a passenger will provide credibility when implementing reforms that employees might otherwise resist. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Victoria Chen represents the American dream, realized through exceptional talent, relentless determination, and strategic career decisions that overcame barriers facing Asian American women in corporate aviation. At 35, her resume reads like a masterclass in executive development, MBA from Wharton with highest honors, 15 years of progressive airline industry experience, and a track record of transforming underperforming operations into profitable enterprises. Her journey began in San Francisco's Chinatown, where her immigrant parents operated a small restaurant that served authentic Cantonese cuisine to homesick workers and adventurous food lovers. Her father, a former aircraft mechanic in Taiwan, instilled appreciation for aviation precision and safety protocols. Her mother, who managed the restaurant's finances, taught her the importance of customer service excellence and operational efficiency. Victoria's fascination with airlines started during childhood visits to San Francisco International Airport, where her father explained aircraft systems while they watched planes taxi and take off. She understood early that aviation combines technological complexity with service excellence, requiring leaders who comprehend both engineering principles and human psychology. Her career path reflected this dual focus on operational competence and customer satisfaction. Stanford University provided her undergraduate education in aerospace engineering, where she excelled in courses about aircraft design, operations research, and systems optimization. Her senior thesis examined how airline scheduling algorithms could improve both efficiency and passenger experience. Major carriers recruited her aggressively, but she chose Delta's management training program for its reputation, developing future executives. Delta's rotational program exposed Victoria to every aspect of airline operations: ground services, flight operations, maintenance, catering, customer service, and revenue management. She worked midnight shifts loading baggage, spent weeks in maintenance hangars learning aircraft systems, and logged hundreds of hours observing customer interactions that revealed the gap between corporate policies and frontline execution. Her breakthrough came during a crisis when a computer system failure stranded thousands of passengers during Christmas week. While executives held meetings about media relations and financial impact, Victoria organized volunteer teams that manually processed passenger rebookings, arranged hotel accommodations, and provided updates that maintained customer confidence. Her leadership during chaos earned recognition that accelerated her career trajectory. United Airlines recruited Victoria after her successful turnaround of Delta's troubled Los Angeles hub, where customer satisfaction scores improved 40% under her leadership. Her methods emphasized employee empowerment, accountability for service failures, and systematic analysis of customer feedback to identify improvement opportunities. United's board wanted those skills applied to their international operations expansion. At United, Victoria led the launch of new routes to Asian markets, where her cultural knowledge and language skills provided competitive advantages. She understood nuances of customer expectations that American executives often missed, enabling service customization that increased market share in lucrative business travel segments. Her success caught attention throughout the industry. SkyBridge's board approached Victoria after scandals involving passenger mistreatment, discriminatory policies, and employee misconduct created public relations disasters that damaged brand reputation and stock performance. The company needed leadership that could rebuild customer trust while addressing cultural problems that enabled systematic service failures. Her reputation for employee accountability and customer advocacy made her the unanimous choice. Victoria's personal experience with discrimination provides perspective that many airline executives lack. She remembers being questioned about her qualifications during interviews where less experienced white male candidates were presumed competent. She recalls customer service encounters where her appearance prompted assumptions about her English proficiency or professional status. These experiences shaped her commitment to eliminating bias in customer service. Her leadership philosophy emphasizes dignity, respect, and accountability at every level of operations. She believes excellent customer service requires employees who feel valued and empowered to resolve problems creatively. Her track record proves that treating employees well creates customer service excellence that drives profitability through loyalty and positive word-of-mouth marketing. The timing of Flight 847 reflects Victoria's systematic approach to leadership transition. She scheduled this Tuesday flight to arrive in Atlanta with 3 days for operational observation before Monday's official CEO announcement. Her plan includes visiting maintenance facilities, customer service centers, and crew scheduling operations to understand current performance before implementing changes. Victoria chose to fly as a regular passenger rather than in the cockpit, jump seat or first-class cabin upgrade that her incoming position could provide. She wants authentic insight into how SkyBridge employees treat customers when they believe no consequences exist for poor behavior. Her experience will provide credibility when addressing service standards with frontline staff. She has no idea that her simple desire to observe customer service will become a first-hand experience of exactly the problems she was hired to solve. Her carry-on bag contains the business plan that will transform SkyBridge from industry laggard to customer service leader. Her employee identification badge, hidden in her briefcase, will soon transform this routine flight into a career-defining moment for crew members who don't understand that accountability is coming. Brad Sullivan embodies 18 years of airline industry deterioration, where customer service excellence gave way to cost-cutting measures that prioritized efficiency over passenger satisfaction. At 44, his weathered face reflects the cynicism that develops when corporate promises of career advancement prove hollow and employee appreciation becomes meaningless rhetoric during quarterly earnings. Calls that celebrate profit margins while ignoring service. Quality Sullivan's career began during SkyBridge's golden era, when flight attendants enjoyed prestige, competitive salaries, and management respect for their professionalism. His training emphasized hospitality, safety, and customer service excellence that made flying a pleasant experience for passengers who paid premium prices for premium treatment. Those days ended when deregulation transformed airlines into transportation utilities focused on moving bodies. Rather than providing service, the transformation embittered Sullivan as he watched management strip benefits, increase workloads, and implement policies that prioritize cost reduction over employee satisfaction. His pension disappeared during corporate restructuring. His health insurance costs tripled while coverage decreased. His overtime pay vanished when scheduling algorithms maximize crew utilization without considering human factors that affect performance. Quality, Sullivan's union protection, provides job security that enables behavior patterns that would result in termination in other customer service industries. His 18-year seniority grants him route preferences, schedule control, and authority over junior crew members who fear challenging his methods. The union's grievance procedures protect him from discipline while creating bureaucratic barriers that discourage management. Accountability efforts. His approach to passenger service reflects broader industry problems where employees view customers as adversaries rather than sources of revenue that fund their employment. His authority complex manifests through arbitrary rule enforcement that demonstrates power rather than ensuring safety or comfort. His racial biases create discriminatory treatment that violates company policies and federal regulations. The irony escapes Sullivan completely. His salary depends on passenger revenue generated by customers he treats with contempt. His job security exists because travelers choose SkyBridge over competitors, yet his behavior drives exactly the customer defection that threatens his employment. His union protection shields him from consequences, while enabling systematic service failures that damage company reputation. Sullivan's financial pressures compound his resentment toward passengers whose expensive clothing and confident demeanor remind him of opportunities he never received. His modest apartment contrasts sharply with first-class passengers whose frequent travel suggests income levels he'll never achieve. Their success becomes evidence of unfairness rather than motivation for improvement. His pattern of discriminatory behavior targets passengers whose appearance triggers his prejudices. Young women receive condescending lectures about airline regulations. Minority passengers face enhanced scrutiny of documentation and belongings. Foreign travelers encounter impatience with accented English or cultural differences that require accommodation rather than irritation. Jessica Martinez, his junior colleague, represents everything Sullivan resents about modern airline hiring practices. Her college education, bilingual skills, and customer service training reflect corporate emphasis on qualifications he lacks. Her enthusiasm for passenger service contrasts with his cynical approach to job responsibilities. Her promotion potential threatens his status within the crew. Hierarchy. Sullivan's influence over Martinez demonstrates how toxic workplace cultures perpetuate through informal mentoring that teaches new employees to adopt counterproductive attitudes. His 18-year tenure grants him credibility with junior staff, who assume his methods reflect company expectations rather than personal dysfunction. His behavior becomes normalized through repetition and acceptance. The digital age threatens Sullivan's ability to escape accountability for customer service failures. Passenger phones capture interactions that previously occurred without documentation. Social media platforms amplify complaints that once remained isolated incidents. Corporate executives face pressure to address systematic problems that damage brand reputation and stock performance. Sullivan's resistance to change reflects broader employee cynicism about corporate reform initiatives that promise improvement while maintaining underlying problems that create dysfunction. His experience includes multiple management changes that proclaimed cultural transformation while preserving policies and practices that enabled poor performance. His skepticism about accountability measures stems from decades of empty promises. Captain Robert Hayes and co-pilot Sarah Kim represent operational professionalism that contrasts sharply with Sullivan's approach to customer service. Their focus on flight safety and technical competence reflects aviation industry standards that prioritize passenger welfare above personal convenience. Their presence in the cockpit creates witnesses to cabin incidents that Sullivan prefers to handle without oversight ground. Supervisor Janet Williams embodies middle management's difficult position between corporate policies that demand customer service excellence and frontline employees whose behavior patterns resist change. Her 20-year tenure includes countless incidents where she balanced passenger complaints against union protection for problem employees. Her experience teaches diplomatic solutions that avoid confrontation while minimizing damage. Sullivan approaches Flight 847 with the same entitled attitude that characterizes his passenger interactions. His authority over cabin service creates opportunities to demonstrate power through arbitrary rule enforcement that serves no safety purpose. His prejudices against successful minority passengers will soon encounter someone whose actual authority exceeds his wildest nightmares about accountability and consequences. The stage is set for Sullivan's systematic assumptions about passenger powerlessness to collide with reality in spectacular fashion. His 18-year pattern of discriminatory behavior will finally encounter consequences that union protection cannot prevent. His authority complex will be humbled by someone whose real power dwarfs his petty jurisdiction over carry-on luggage and seat assignments. Sullivan's aggressive stance over Victoria's perfectly regulation-sized carry-on bag attracts attention throughout the first-class cabin as his voice carries over normal conversation levels. His authoritarian tone transforms routine luggage placement into public confrontation, designed to establish dominance through humiliation. Other passengers pause their boarding activities to observe the unnecessary drama unfolding in row 3. "Ma'am, I've been doing this job for 18 years, Sullivan announces with theatrical authority, ensuring every first-class passenger hears his credentials. "I know airline regulations better than you know your own purse contents. That bag is oversized, and it's not going in any overhead bin on my aircraft." His emphasis on "my aircraft" reveals the territorial mindset that drives his customer service dysfunction. Dr. Michael Thompson, a frequent traveler familiar with luggage dimensions, examines Victoria's bag with professional assessment skills that medical training provides. The carry-on clearly meets all size requirements posted throughout the airport and printed on boarding passes. His confusion about Sullivan's aggressive enforcement grows as he observes behavior that violates every customer service principle. Emma Rodriguez activates her phone's recording, function with journalism student instincts that recognize developing stories. Her digital media coursework emphasized documenting incidents that reveal institutional problems. Her finger hovers over the live stream button as she anticipates escalation that will interest her social media followers studying corporate accountability. "Sir, this bag has traveled with me on over 200 flights," Victoria responds with measured professionalism that reflects years of corporate boardroom experience. "It's well within regulation dimensions, and identical bags fill the overhead bins above us. I'd appreciate reasonable explanation for why you're singling out my luggage for special scrutiny." Sullivan's face reddens with anger as Victoria's articulate response challenges his authority in front of passengers whose respect he craves but rarely earns. Her educated speech patterns trigger his class resentment, while her confident demeanor suggests someone accustomed to receiving respect rather than arbitrary enforcement of imaginary regulations. Jessica Martinez, Sullivan's junior colleague, recognizes the deteriorating situation but lacks seniority to intervene effectively. Her training emphasized de-escalation techniques that Sullivan ignores in favor of confrontational methods that serve his psychological needs rather than customer service objectives. Her internal conflict between supporting her senior colleague and protecting passenger welfare creates visible tension. "Ma'am, questioning my authority constitutes disruptive behavior that could result in removal from this aircraft," Sullivan threatens with practiced intimidation techniques that usually silence passenger objections. His hand moves toward his radio in a gesture designed to suggest backup enforcement options. His psychological need to win every confrontation overrides customer service protocols. Frank Patterson, the retired teacher in seat 1B, recognizes bullying behavior from decades of classroom experience managing adolescent power struggles. His educational background trained him to identify adults who use authority inappropriately to compensate for personal insecurities. His observation skills detect racial undertones in Sullivan's aggressive enforcement of rules he ignores for other passengers. Lisa Chang, the business consultant in seat 2C, documents Sullivan's badge number and threatens to file complaints that could affect his employment. Her frequent flyer status grants her credibility with airline customer service departments that take premium passenger feedback seriously. Her corporate background includes managing customer service operations that fired employees for exactly this behavior. Captain Hayes emerges from the cockpit to investigate cabin disturbance that could delay departure schedules. His authority over flight operations supersedes Sullivan's cabin jurisdiction, creating hierarchical tension between flight deck professionalism and cabin service dysfunction. His presence adds witnesses whose testimony could support future disciplinary actions. "What's the situation here?" Captain Hayes asks with the calm authority that aviation training provides for managing crisis situations. His assessment skills quickly identify unnecessary confrontation that serves no safety purpose. His experience includes hundreds of flights where professional crew management prevented passenger incidents from escalating into company problems. Sullivan attempts to justify his position through fabricated safety concerns that don't withstand professional scrutiny. "Captain, this passenger is being disruptive and refusing to comply with federal aviation regulations regarding carry-on luggage storage. She's questioning crew authority and creating disturbance," among other passengers. Victoria maintains dignified composure despite mounting frustration with arbitrary enforcement that targets her, specifically while identical luggage remains unchallenged. Her corporate experience includes managing difficult personalities whose behavior patterns require strategic responses that preserve professional relationships while establishing appropriate boundaries. Captain Hayes, Victoria addresses the pilot with professional courtesy that acknowledges his legitimate authority. "I'm complying with all regulations while questioning why my regulation-size bag receives special scrutiny that doesn't apply to identical luggage carried by other passengers." I'd appreciate fair treatment based on actual policies rather than arbitrary enforcement. Co-pilot. Sarah Kim observes from the galley area with growing concern about Sullivan's pattern of targeting minority passengers for enhanced scrutiny. Her aviation career includes diversity training that emphasized equal treatment regardless of passenger demographics. Her position provides different perspective on cabin incidents that frontline group members might rationalize. The tension escalates as Sullivan realizes his authority challenge is being documented by multiple passengers whose credibility could threaten his job security. His 18-year pattern of unopposed discrimination faces unprecedented resistance from someone whose confidence suggests resources and connections that could create accountability he's never experienced. Ground Supervisor Janet Williams receives radio notification about potential passenger removal that requires her intervention. Her experience managing customer service crises includes situations where employee behavior created problems that exceeded simple complaint resolution. Her arrival will add another layer of witnesses and documentation to an incident that's spiraling beyond Sullivan's control. The stage is set for confrontation that will transform routine flight service into career-defining moments for everyone involved. Sullivan's authority complex approaches collision with someone whose actual power will soon humble his petty jurisdiction over carry-on luggage placement. The escalation continues, building toward revelation that will change everything. Ground Supervisor Janet Williams arrives at gate C14 with the weary expression of someone who's managed countless passenger disputes created by employee dysfunction. Her 20-year tenure includes situations where crew member behavior escalated minor issues into major public relations disasters that required corporate damage control. Her radio crackles with updates about Flight 847's departure delay caused by cabin disturbance. "Mr. Sullivan, what's the nature of this passenger complaint?" Williams asks, with diplomatic neutrality that avoids taking sides while gathering information needed for incident resolution. Her experience taught her to document everything, because passenger disputes often generate federal complaints that require detailed response from corporate legal departments. Sullivan presents his fabricated narrative with practiced authority that makes lies sound like legitimate safety concerns. "Ma'am, this passenger refuses to comply with carry-on luggage regulations, questions crew authority, and creates disturbance among other passengers. She exhibits disruptive behavior that compromises flight safety and violates federal aviation regulations. Dr. Thompson's medical ethics compel him to interrupt with factual testimony that contradicts Sullivan's false claims." Supervisor Williams, "I've observed this entire encounter. The passenger has been completely cooperative while the flight attendant has been unnecessarily aggressive about luggage that clearly meets size requirements. This appears to be discriminatory enforcement rather than safety concern." Emma Rodriguez's live stream reaches her social media followers as she provides real-time commentary about airline discrimination unfolding before cameras. Her journalism training emphasized factual reporting that documents institutional problems through first-hand observation. Her streaming platform notifications indicate growing viewer engagement with content that exposes corporate dysfunction. Victoria maintains professional composure despite mounting frustration with systematic mistreatment that violates every customer. Service principle she's learned during 15 years of airline industry experience. Her corporate background includes managing exactly these situations where employee behavior creates company liability through discriminatory treatment that federal regulations prohibit. Supervisor Williams, I'm Victoria Chen, and I'd like to understand why my regulation-sized luggage receives scrutiny that doesn't apply to identical bags carried by other passengers. Victoria states with corporate precision that establishes her credibility while requesting reasonable explanation for unreasonable treatment. Williams examines Victoria's carry-on bag with measuring tape that confirms compliance with posted regulations. The dimensions fall well within limits that thousands of passengers exceed daily without challenge from crew members who understand that customer service requires reasonable accommodation rather than arbitrary enforcement designed to demonstrate authority. Mr. Sullivan, this bag meets our published size requirements. Williams states with supervisory authority that should resolve the dispute through factual assessment. I don't see grounds for preventing normal overhead storage that we provide for all passengers. Let's move forward with boarding completion and departure preparation. Sullivan's authority complex prevents him from accepting supervisory correction that undermines his position in front of passengers whose respect he desperately seeks. His 18-year tenure creates entitlement to deference from junior supervisors who usually avoid confronting union-protected employees whose grievance procedures create administrative burdens. Ma'am, with respect, I have 18 years of experience and intimate knowledge of safety regulations that desk supervisors might not fully appreciate. Sullivan responds with barely concealed insubordination that challenges Williams's authority, while maintaining plausible deniability about direct defiance of supervisory direction. Frank Patterson's educational background recognizes psychological patterns where individuals use minor authority to compensate for feelings of powerlessness in other life areas. His classroom experience managing adolescent behavior provides insight into adult dysfunction that manifests through inappropriate use of positional power to humiliate others. Jessica Martinez experiences internal conflict between loyalty to her senior colleague and recognition that his behavior violates every customer service principle her training emphasized. Her position as junior crew member provides limited authority to challenge Sullivan's methods, but her conscience struggles with participating in obvious discrimination. The situation deteriorates as Sullivan realizes his authority is being questioned by multiple witnesses whose testimony could threaten his job security. His pattern of unopposed discrimination faces unprecedented resistance that triggers defensive responses designed to justify behavior that serves no legitimate purpose. This passenger's attitude and questioning of crew authority constitutes the kind of disruptive behavior that compromises aviation security. Sullivan escalates with fabricated safety concerns that transform customer service complaints into federal security issues. I recommend removal from this aircraft before her behavior affects other passengers. Captain Hayes recognizes that cabin crew dysfunction threatens flight safety through systematic escalation of minor issues into major confrontations. His aviation authority includes responsibility for passenger welfare that supersedes cabin crew jurisdiction over luggage placement disputes that serve no safety purpose. Security Officer Tom Bradley receives radio notification about potential passenger removal that requires law enforcement assessment of federal aviation security concerns. His training includes distinguishing between legitimate security threats and employee-created incidents that waste resources while violating passenger rights through discriminatory enforcement. The breaking point arrives as Sullivan's authority complex collides with institutional systems designed to prevent exactly the discrimination he's perpetrating. Multiple witnesses document behavior that violates company policies, federal regulations, and basic customer service principles that protect passengers from arbitrary treatment based on personal prejudices. Victoria's professional background provides understanding of how employee dysfunction creates corporate liability through systematic violation of civil rights protections that federal law mandates for commercial aviation. Her experience managing customer service operations includes terminating employees whose behavior patterns threatened company reputation and legal compliance. The stage is set for Sullivan's 18-year pattern of discriminatory behavior to encounter consequences that union protection cannot prevent. His authority over cabin service will soon be challenged by someone whose actual power includes authority over his employment, his department, and his company's entire operational structure. The confrontation reaches critical mass as multiple systems converge to document and address systematic abuse of authority that damages customer relations, violates federal law, and creates exactly the cultural problems that Victoria was hired to eliminate through comprehensive reform of employee accountability and customer service excellence. The commotion at Gate C-14 attracts attention from SkyBridge's executive team conducting pre-flight operational reviews for Monday's CEO transition. Chief Operating Officer Robert Martinez emerges from the jet bridge with tablet in hand, reviewing passenger manifest data and crew performance metrics that will inform Victoria Chen's initial assessment of company operations. What's causing our departure delay? Martinez asks Williams with corporate authority that immediately changes the dynamic surrounding Flight 847's boarding crisis. His presence transforms a routine passenger dispute into executive-level incident that requires careful management to avoid negative publicity that could affect stock, performance, and brand reputation. Sullivan's confidence wavers as he recognizes Martinez from company meetings where executives discuss performance standards and employee accountability measures. His 18-year tenure includes enough corporate encounters to understand that executive attention to frontline incidents rarely benefits crew members whose behavior creates customer service problems. Martinez examines the situation with operational expertise that quickly identifies employee dysfunction rather than legitimate passenger compliance issues. His review of Victoria's luggage confirms regulatory compliance, while Sullivan's aggressive posture suggests personal rather than professional motivation for the confrontation. Supervisor Williams, what's the specific policy violation that's preventing this passenger from boarding? Martinez asks with corporate precision that demands factual justification for actions that delay departure schedules and create customer service incidents. His tone suggests skepticism about crew member judgment while protecting company interests. Dr. Thompson approaches Martinez with medical professional authority that adds credibility to witness testimony. "Sir, I'm Dr. Michael Thompson, and I've observed this entire encounter. The flight attendant has been discriminatory and aggressive toward a passenger whose luggage clearly meets all regulations. This appears to be bias-based enforcement rather than safety concern." Emma Rodriguez's livestream notifications explode as viewers recognize the escalating corporate response to discrimination caught on camera. Her journalism student followers share footage across social media platforms faster than she can track engagement metrics. Her documentation becomes viral content that threatens company reputation in real time. Martinez's tablet displays Victoria Chen's passenger profile with CEO designation clearly visible in executive booking systems that track high-value customers and company officials. His face goes pale as he realizes the implications of crew member discrimination against the incoming chief executive officer during her first SkyBridge flight experience. "Ms. Chen?" Martinez's voice carries disbelief mixed with horror as he recognizes the woman being harassed by his company's employee. His corporate training never prepared him for managing situations where frontline staff discriminate against the incoming CEO while being recorded by passenger phones and social media platforms. Victoria maintains professional composure despite internal satisfaction about the timing of her identity revelation. Her corporate experience includes managing crisis situations where calm leadership prevents small problems from becoming major disasters. Her current situation represents exactly the cultural problems she was hired to address. "Mr. Martinez, I appreciate your intervention," Victoria responds, with CEO-level authority that immediately establishes new power dynamics among everyone present. Her voice carries boardroom confidence that makes her previous passenger status seem impossible, given her obvious executive capabilities and corporate bearing. Sullivan's legs nearly buckle as he processes the implications of discriminating against his company's new chief executive officer while being documented by multiple recording devices. His 18-year tenure provides enough corporate knowledge to understand that targeting the CEO for harassment represents career suicide that union protection cannot prevent. Frank Patterson's retired educator background recognizes the pedagogical value of witnessing accountability in action. His observation skills detect the precise moment when authority figures realize their abuse of power has been witnessed and documented by someone with actual authority to impose consequences for discriminatory behavior. Captain Hayes emerges from the cockpit with growing concern about departure delays that affect scheduling compliance and customer satisfaction metrics. His aviation authority includes responsibility for flight operations that corporate executives monitor closely for performance evaluation and customer service assessment purposes. "Ma'am, I had no idea," Sullivan stammers with desperate damage control that acknowledges his recognition of Victoria's identity while attempting to minimize responsibility for behavior that federal law prohibits regardless of passenger status. His racial discrimination violates civil rights regardless of victim identity or corporate position. Martinez's corporate crisis management training kicks in as he attempts to contain damage from employee misconduct that threatens company reputation and CEO transition planning. His assessment of Sullivan's behavior patterns suggests systematic problems that require immediate intervention and comprehensive investigation. Ms. Chen, on behalf of SkyBridge Airlines, I apologize for this unacceptable treatment, Martinez states with corporate authority, while recognizing that employee discrimination against the incoming CEO represents unprecedented crisis requiring executive-level response and comprehensive organizational accountability measures. Jessica Martinez observes the power reversal with growing understanding of how quickly careers can be destroyed through discriminatory behavior that violates company values and federal regulations. Her position as junior crew member provides front-row education about consequences that await employees whose personal prejudices override professional responsibilities. Lisa Chang documents badge numbers and incident details that will support comprehensive federal complaints about systematic discrimination. Her business consultant background includes managing corporate accountability programs that protect companies from employee behavior that creates legal liability through civil rights violations. The revelation transforms Sullivan from authority figure to defendant in potential federal civil rights case, while elevating Victoria from victim to judge of employee conduct that violates every principle of customer service excellence. The power dynamics shift completely as identity revelation changes everything about consequences and accountability. Williams realizes her supervisory authority over Sullivan includes responsibility for managing employee whose discriminatory behavior against the company CEO requires immediate action that protects corporate interests while addressing civil rights violations that federal law prohibits in commercial aviation. Sullivan's termination becomes inevitable as SkyBridge's legal department receives emergency consultation requests about employee discrimination against the incoming CEO. Corporate attorneys recognize that 18 years of service provide no protection against federal civil rights violations documented by passenger phones and witnessed by credible professionals whose testimony would devastate any defense strategy. "Mr. Sullivan, you're immediately suspended pending investigation," Martinez announces with corporate authority that eliminates union protection for behavior that violates federal law. His decision reflects company policy requiring immediate action when employees create legal liability through discriminatory treatment that threatens corporate reputation and regulatory compliance. Security Officer Bradley escorts Sullivan from the aircraft, while Emma Rodriguez's live stream captures the moment when discriminatory behavior encounters real consequences. Her social media followers watch 18 years of airline career dissolve in real time as viewers share footage that exposes systematic problems in customer service accountability. Dr. Thompson provides witness statement to corporate investigators whose assessment of incident liability requires detailed documentation about Sullivan's pattern of discriminatory enforcement that targeted Victoria specifically while ignoring identical luggage carried by other passengers. His medical professional credibility adds weight to testimony that supports federal prosecution. Victoria exercises CEO authority to launch comprehensive investigation of employee behavior patterns that enabled Sullivan's discrimination to continue unchallenged for 18 years. Her mandate includes reviewing complaint records, training programs, and supervisory oversight that failed to prevent systematic civil rights violations. Mr. Martinez, I want complete audit of customer service training, complaint resolution procedures, and employee accountability measures. Victoria directs with executive authority that makes comprehensive reform inevitable. This incident represents systematic failure that requires organizational transformation rather than individual discipline. Williams faces supervisory accountability for managing employee whose behavior pattern should have triggered intervention before discrimination escalated into CEO harassment. Her 20-year tenure includes responsibility for oversight that failed to prevent predictable problems that federal law specifically prohibits in commercial aviation. Captain Hayes files operational report documenting cabin crew dysfunction that threatened flight safety through unnecessary passenger confrontation. His aviation authority includes responsibility for incident documentation that airline regulators review for patterns of employee behavior that compromise passenger welfare and operational safety. Jessica Martinez receives protection as whistleblower, whose testimony about Sullivan's discriminatory patterns supports federal investigation. Her cooperation with accountability measures demonstrates commitment to customer service excellence that her training emphasized, despite senior colleague pressure to ignore civil rights violations. Frank Patterson's witness statement provides detailed documentation about discriminatory enforcement patterns that targeted minority passengers for enhanced scrutiny. His retired educator background lends credibility to observations about systematic bias that federal investigators need for building comprehensive civil rights cases. Lisa Chang's business consultant experience enables detailed incident report that documents violation of customer service standards that SkyBridge's policies explicitly require. Her frequent flyer status provides credibility with corporate executives who depend on premium passenger loyalty for revenue sustainability. The immediate corporate response includes media statement acknowledging employee misconduct while emphasizing commitment to customer service excellence and civil rights compliance. Public relations specialists work overtime to contain damage from viral footage that threatens brand reputation and stock performance. Sullivan's union representative receives notification about federal investigation that eliminates grievance protection for civil rights violations. 18 years of protected employment end abruptly when employee behavior crosses legal boundaries that labor agreements cannot shield through traditional disciplinary procedures. Victoria's first CEO decision involves terminating employment relationship with Sullivan while implementing accountability measures that prevent similar discrimination. Her executive authority includes responsibility for cultural transformation that makes civil rights compliance integral to employee performance evaluation and advancement opportunities. The Federal Aviation Administration receives complaint documentation requiring investigation of systematic discrimination that violates commercial aviation regulations designed to protect passenger rights regardless of race, gender, or appearance. Their enforcement authority includes penalties that threaten airline operating certificates, Department of Transportation. Civil rights investigators launch formal inquiry into SkyBridge's complaint resolution procedures that failed to prevent 18 years of discriminatory behavior. Their assessment authority includes requiring comprehensive training programs and oversight measures that ensure federal compliance. Social media response amplifies incident impact as viral footage reaches millions of viewers who share content across platforms faster than corporate communications teams can manage. Public relations specialists monitor hashtag trends that threaten long-term brand reputation and customer confidence. Employee training programs undergo immediate revision to emphasize civil rights compliance and customer service excellence that federal law requires in commercial aviation. Human resources specialists develop accountability measures that prevent discriminatory behavior through systematic oversight and consequence enforcement. Victoria's leadership transition includes comprehensive assessment of cultural problems that enabled Sullivan's discrimination while developing organizational solutions that protect both employee welfare and passenger rights through balanced accountability measures that support excellence rather than punishment. The incident becomes case study in business schools about how employee misconduct creates corporate liability while demonstrating importance of leadership accountability in maintaining customer service standards that protect company reputation and regulatory compliance in heavily regulated industries. Corporate insurance specialists assess liability exposure from discrimination lawsuit that Sullivan's behavior created while evaluating policy coverage for employee misconduct that violates federal civil rights law. Their risk assessment influences premium calculations and coverage terms for similar incidents. Federal prosecutors from the Northern District of Illinois launch civil rights investigation under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983. Treating Sullivan's discrimination as violation of Victoria's constitutional rights to equal protection in commercial transportation. The case establishes precedent for prosecuting airline employee discrimination as federal civil rights, crime worthy of criminal charges rather than civil. Remedies. Sullivan faces 18 months in federal prison after pleading guilty to conspiracy to violate civil rights under color of authority. His union protection evaporates when criminal charges eliminate grievance procedures designed for employment disputes rather than federal crimes. His pension disappears, along with his freedom as federal. Sentencing guidelines impose mandatory minimums for civil rights violations. The Department of Transportation levies record-breaking fines against SkyBridge Airlines for systematic failure to prevent employee discrimination over 18 years of documented complaints. Federal investigators discover pattern of supervisory negligence that enabled Sullivan's behavior while protecting corporate profits through willful ignorance of civil rights violations. Victoria's comprehensive audit reveals that Sullivan's discrimination represented institutional problems spanning multiple departments and management levels. Her investigation discovers 47 documented complaints about his behavior over 18 years, all buried in administrative files that supervisors ignored to avoid confronting union-protected employees whose misconduct threatened customer service excellence. Employee training programs undergo complete redesign, emphasizing civil rights compliance and customer service accountability. Victoria implements monthly bias awareness sessions, quarterly performance reviews focused on passenger treatment, and anonymous reporting systems that protect whistleblowers who document colleague discrimination. The cultural transformation prioritizes dignity and respect over authority and control. Jessica Martinez receives promotion to lead flight attendant after her cooperation with federal investigators demonstrates commitment to customer service excellence over colleague loyalty. Her testimony about Sullivan's discriminatory patterns provides crucial evidence for prosecution while establishing new standards for employee accountability that protect both passenger rights and company reputation. Dr. Thompson's witness testimony becomes template for passenger advocacy that holds airlines accountable for employee misconduct. His medical professional credibility adds weight to civil rights complaints while demonstrating how educated witnesses can support federal prosecution of systematic discrimination. His involvement inspires other professionals to document and report similar incidents. Emma Rodriguez's viral footage reaches 37 million views across social media platforms, sparking nationwide conversation about airline discrimination and passenger rights. Her journalism student background enables professional documentation that news outlets use for investigative reporting about systematic problems in commercial aviation customer service. Frank Patterson becomes plaintiff in class action lawsuit representing passengers who suffered Sullivan's discrimination over 18 years. His retired educator background provides credibility for testimony about systematic bias patterns, while his age and race demonstrate how discrimination affects diverse passenger demographics. The lawsuit settles for $4.2 million distributed among affected passengers. Williams faces termination for supervisory negligence that enabled 18 years of discriminatory behavior through willful ignorance and administrative cover-ups. Her 20-year tenure ends with career destruction that demonstrates how management accountability extends to supervisors who protect problem employees rather than passenger rights. Captain Hayes receives commendation for professional handling of cabin crew crisis while maintaining flight safety standards. His documentation of Sullivan's behavior provides crucial evidence for federal prosecution while demonstrating how operational leadership can support accountability measures that protect both passenger welfare and company reputation. The Federal Aviation Administration implements new regulations requiring bias training for all airline employees, anonymous reporting systems for discrimination complaints, and mandatory termination for civil rights violations. Victoria's experience becomes catalyst for industry-wide reform that protects passenger rights through enhanced accountability measures. SkyBridge's stock price initially drops 12% following viral footage and federal investigation, but recovers to record highs after Victoria's reforms demonstrate commitment to customer service excellence. Investor confidence increases as cultural transformation eliminates legal liability, while improving operational performance through employee accountability. 2 years after Flight 847, SkyBridge Airlines transforms from industry laggard in customer service to national leader in passenger satisfaction and employee accountability. Victoria's comprehensive reforms eliminate discriminatory behavior through systematic cultural change that prioritizes dignity, respect, and excellence over authority, control, and convenience. The company's reputation recovery becomes business school case study about crisis management and organizational transformation. The Sullivan Protocols, named after the incident that exposed systematic discrimination, become mandatory training for all commercial aviation employees nationwide. Federal regulations require annual bias awareness education, quarterly performance evaluations focused on passenger treatment, and immediate termination for civil rights violations. The protocols reduce airline discrimination complaints by 73% within 18 months of implementation. Victoria's leadership philosophy emphasizes employee empowerment through accountability rather than punishment through fear. Her reforms include profit-sharing programs that reward excellent customer service, career advancement opportunities for employees who demonstrate commitment to passenger welfare, and comprehensive support systems that address personal problems before they manifest as workplace dysfunction. Sullivan serves his 18-month federal sentence in minimum security facility, where his experience becomes cautionary tale for other inmates about how personal prejudices can destroy careers and families. His prison interviews with researchers studying workplace discrimination provide insight into how financial stress and social resentment can enable systematic civil rights violations. The Federal Aviation Administration establishes the Chen Center for Airline Accountability, named after Victoria's dignified response to discrimination. The center investigates passenger complaints, monitors employee behavior patterns, and develops prevention programs that protect civil rights while supporting operational excellence. Its work influences international aviation standards for passenger protection. Emma Rodriguez's journalism career launches with investigative reporting about airline discrimination that wins Pulitzer Prize recognition for exposing systematic problems in commercial aviation. Her viral footage becomes historical documentation in the Smithsonian Civil Rights Collection, preserved as evidence of how technology can hold authority accountable through citizen journalism. Dr. Thompson establishes the professional witness network that trains doctors, lawyers, educators, and other credentialed professionals to document and report discrimination they observe during travel. His medical expertise provides template for expert testimony that supports federal prosecution of civil rights violations while encouraging professional accountability for colleague misconduct. Frank Patterson's class action lawsuit creates legal precedent requiring airlines to compensate passengers who suffered discriminatory treatment. The $4.2 million settlement funds passenger advocacy organizations that provide legal support for discrimination victims while lobbying for enhanced civil rights protections in commercial transportation. Jessica Martinez becomes Vice President of Customer Service Operations after demonstrating leadership during the crisis that ended Sullivan's career. Her promotion represents Victoria's commitment to rewarding integrity over seniority while building management team committed to passenger welfare rather than employee protection of problem colleagues. Williams' termination becomes template for holding supervisors accountable for enabling employee discrimination through willful ignorance. Her case influences management training, programs that emphasize intervention responsibilities rather than administrative convenience when addressing systematic problems that threaten passenger rights and company reputation. Captain Hayes receives industry recognition for professional handling of employee misconduct while maintaining flight safety standards. His documentation techniques become training material for aviation professionals who may witness discrimination while managing operational responsibilities that require balanced attention to multiple priorities. The incident transforms commercial aviation employment practices through enhanced background checks that identify patterns of discriminatory behavior, personality assessments that predict customer service aptitude, and probationary periods that require demonstrated commitment to passenger welfare before permanent employment. Confirmation: SkyBridge's financial performance improves dramatically as customer satisfaction increases. Following cultural transformation, revenue grows 28% annually, while operational costs decrease through reduced legal liability, improved employee retention, and enhanced brand reputation that attracts premium passengers willing to pay higher prices for guaranteed service excellence. Victoria's autobiography, Dignity in Flight, Leading Through Crisis, becomes bestseller that inspires executives facing organizational dysfunction. Her experience demonstrates how personal integrity can overcome systematic corruption, while showing how crisis management can become catalyst for transformation rather than excuse for incremental change. The incident influences federal legislation requiring commercial transportation companies to maintain discrimination-free environments through enhanced accountability measures. The Passenger Rights Protection Act establishes federal standards for employee behavior while creating enforcement mechanisms that protect Civil rights through systematic oversight rather than complaint-driven. Investigation. International aviation organizations adopt the Chen standards for passenger treatment that require dignity, respect, and equal service regardless of demographic characteristics. Victoria's experience becomes global template for preventing discrimination while supporting operational excellence through cultural transformation that benefits both passengers and employees. 10 years later, Sullivan's name appears in discrimination prevention training as cautionary example of how personal prejudices can destroy careers while violating fundamental human rights. His 18 years of protected misconduct become study material for understanding how institutional protection can enable systematic discrimination that federal law specifically prohibits. Victoria's leadership legacy extends beyond airline industry to influence corporate accountability standards across multiple sectors. Her demonstration that crisis can become catalyst for transformation inspires executives to address systematic problems proactively rather than reactively, while showing how personal integrity can guide organizational change. The transformation proves that accountability and excellence can coexist when leadership prioritizes dignity over convenience, respect over authority, and service over power. Victoria's experience on Flight 847 becomes foundation for career dedicated to proving that justice delayed is not justice denied when courage confronts corruption through systematic reform rather than personal revenge. Most importantly, the story demonstrates how individual integrity can overcome institutional dysfunction when supported by technology, witnesses, and leaders willing to transform crisis into catalyst for meaningful change that protects human dignity while supporting operational excellence in service of community welfare rather than personal convenience.